Hey, it's got to be Thursday night. Hello, folks. Is it Thursday? It's Thursday night. Nice to have you all again. It's that time of the week when we get to sit back, we get to relax, we get to open our gin bottles, and we begin to think about the weekend ahead of us. But before we get there, we have an evening with suggestion. Folks, lovely to have you with us. Welcome. Lovely to a much warmer Auckland, I have to say, today. I'm not quite sure. It's raining, but it's still warmer, and so the fire's not that important. But hey, the gin tasting tonight. We've got a brilliant gin for you to enjoy. We've got an amazing crew from Imagination to introduce you to in a moment. But you know me, I'm Fraser, and I just want to make sure there's a couple of things, a couple of bits and pieces I want to remind you. First of all, make sure you got your glass or glasses. Make sure you've got your little mini with the that came in the box, and what you're looking at. This is the Black Barn Syrah barrel aged gin that we're going to be tasting tonight from Imagination. There's the bottle. Thank you very much indeed. And what else do we need to know? Make sure that you've got your tasting notes. And so there it is. And as always, on the back side of that page is space for you to make your own notes based on the tasting as you go. So what else do you need to know? Just to be reminded, questions, comments, any feedback for our extraordinarily talented distillers, well, stick them in the comments section, and we'll make sure that they get to see them as the evening goes on. So already seeing a couple of people checking in. So Donna, nice to have you with us, and someone from Facebook, also cool to have you with us. Okay, that's enough from me.
Jenny.
Sorry?
I think that's Jenny.
Okay, cool.
Block.
Brilliant. Yeah. Nice, Jenny. Okay, folks, that's enough from me, though. Hey, I want to introduce you or get the Imagination team to just introduce themselves. So, guys, it's brilliant to have you with us. Thank you so much for making the time and joining us this evening. Do you want to just quickly go through and introduce yourselves to our members?
Simon Wilson, part of the Imagination team.
Yeah, I'm Chris Charteris, also part of the Imagination team. These are the two clever guys who make the gin. I'm Gavin. I sort of came in and joined the team a while after they started and got involved with the branding. And I'm a shareholder, which I'm very, 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 very fortunate to be. And I'm a shareholder today. I fell in love with the gin and I insisted on being one.
Gav's a good mate of ours from way back, who we're incredibly fortunate to have on board. Gav's a genius in what he does, and so we're all fortunate. We're three of a team of about 10. And we're incredibly fortunate to be that, and it's our privilege to be able to share a Black Barn with you tonight. So, big shout out to the team at Suggestion. We've been in contact with them we were just talking 9 months. Our second gin we've done with you guys, and it's also Wilson. He's a big part of everything that goes on here. So it's a real privilege to be back.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll talk very briefly, maybe a little bit about how we ended up with our Black Barn barrel aged gin, and then maybe
cool.
Chris, I'll throw it to you. Do you want to do tasting notes? And Gav can talk a little bit about Black Barn.
Yeah, sure.
Can I just, before you guys kick straight into the evening and the tasting, can I just say welcome to all of our new members who are joining us tonight. It's wonderful to have you here with us. And welcome to our staple members. Yes, Cordula. Kia ora te whānau. Yes. Pihia koe i te reo Māori. It's wiki i te reo Māori. So how is your Te Wiki I Te Reo Māori week going? That is very important. Freezing in Pōneke today. So barrel-aged gin is perfect, says Cordula. Wow. Okay. We got the warm weather. You got the cold weather.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey,
so
probably goes without saying, but if you are sitting there with your bottle, definitely taste some on ice with no mixer first, because you'll get the pure, it probably goes without saying.
Cool. Yeah. Sorry, can I make one other comment just before we start? So we had a new member who joined us today who was posted about the fact that her box turned up and she was overjoyed with it and all the rest. And I said, well, that's great. You can join us for the tasting tonight. Unfortunately, though, you won't have the gin because you were the fourth of last month's box. So, and this, I said, you're just going to have to use your imagination, but you're welcome to join us. She comes back, and you know what she says to me? She says, I've got a bottle in the cupboard. It's unopened. So I'm going to drink it.
Shout out to her.
And there she is. She's already excited and ready to go.
You're only known as a Facebook user, but we like you.
Yes, actually.
All right, so take it away, guys. Tell us a little bit about it.
I guess so. The Black Barn gin is essentially our classic dry gin. Our classic dry gin is the first gin that we made. Chris and I were making gins for a couple of years, blind tasting them with friends, and it's the triple distilled that we call it is kind of what we ended up with as our flagship.
Right.
That went on very early on to win a lot of awards, and that's kind of what got us going.
That's your Wikarangi, is it?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So Wikarangi is the valley behind Kapiti that we're based out of. It's the area where the Tuatara Brewery originated for 15 years.
Okay.
Before it outgrew the rainwater only supply. So we were really fortunate to have about 250,000 litres of water storage out there, which is all rainwater collected. And we've obviously got the power setups and sheds so Carl Vasta, who originally started Tuatara, is a genius and grew it as your classic kind of Kiwi ingenuity story, and is out of his lifestyle block out this in the beautiful valley that we're based in. So it was the original kind of classic that got us going, which was originally for friends and family, and very quickly became for everyone else that enjoyed it, and it turned out a lot of people enjoyed it. So that kind of got the wheels in motion. We make a few different gins, and they've all kind of been based off the different people that we've run into. We've been incredibly fortunate, and I think the really awesome thing with gin is, as long as you've got juniper berries, you can have a really awesome play on different things.
Yeah.
And for us, that journey of the different gins has been just based really fluid, and just the people that we've met. Gav I'll pass over to Gav shortly, who will talk about Black Barn, but Gav spent 15 years sharing an office with one of the people of Black Barn. So it was kind of just a cool phone call, and they were really keen, and we were really privileged to be able to sit around a table and just try all the different wines and then work out what would work. And Chris and I spent a lot of time doing R&D, which for us is really important, and that just involves drinking lots of different gins.
Very important.
You haven't spent a day in my shoes.
And I guess when and that is the really cool thing I think about gin is actually they're all really different. And I guess the really common question that we're faced is, what's our favourite? And particularly outside of what we own, mate, because we're definitely buyers. And I love something distinctive that you can close your eyes and you know what it is.
Yeah.
Rather than, we do all of our gins blind tasted, and we regularly do blind tastings with a huge amount of gins, and that's, I think, the funnest part, to see what people come up with.
Yeah.
And certainly when we were doing that with barrel-aged gins, what we found, and we found sharing with friends and family and our wider circles, is that going barrel-aged can sometimes be dangerous, in that you can almost end up with whiskey. And there is nothing wrong with whiskey. We love whiskey. But I think the really cool part about gin is that you get these really beautiful layers of flavours with the different botanicals that you use. And I think oak is one of those really special ones that kind of it completely changes the game. So for us, kind of going into it, we were looking to make a gin that still brought floral aromas through, but you could close your eyes and you knew that it had been an oak. You get that like beautiful colour of the oak, and essentially our rule when we're making this one, and this is, again, it's fluid. Like, how long is it in the barrel? Well, it's seasonal. Like, is it hot? Is it cold? The valley we're in can be cold, so it takes longer in winter. Summer's been quick, but we're tasting every week. And as soon as we start picking up that oakiness, we pull it out.
Oh, okay.
And that's so that we get the oakiness, but it's not over oak.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's,
Don't oak gin.
yeah, we don't want to close your eyes and go, I don't know if that's gin or not. We want to go, I've had a sip. There's really lovely kind of spices going on in there, and you're like, oh wow, this is really lovely kind of finish of oak, and that plays out of from when I was talking about earlier when we tasted all the wines with Black Barn, and we've gone with their Syrah barrels because their Syrah is a really kind of beautiful spicy red.
Yeah.
And the triple distilled dry that we use is a really kind of spicy dry gin. So they really play on it. And
so one of our members, Simon, is saying, I won't name you. Oh no, I will. Everybody else on Facebook can see who you are, Jenny. So Jenny's saying, named and shamed, Jenny. Jenny's saying she loved the Reikarangi. She said that the first bottle did not last the night. There you go.
Thank you, Jenny. I've had sometimes it's a problem with our bottles. It's the evaporation. We don't know if it's the.
Yeah. I know. I've had that trouble too. Yeah.
I might pass over to Chris.
Gavin can talk about Black Barn.
Okay, I'll do a quick intro to how we got to Black Barn. So I worked at Saatchi & Saatchi for 16 years, and for that whole 16 years, my partner Kim and I shared a room, and we shared lunch pretty much every day. It was the great hedonistic days of advertising, and we did a lot of drinking together. And Kim is a half owner of Black Barn, the vineyard and the retreats and the whole gig. And when we started talking about doing a barrel aged, for me it was kind of like, well, I know somewhere who makes great wine, and I'm sure would be interested in doing something together. And so we got in touch. I got in touch with Kim, and he was interested and put us in touch directly with the winemaker, Dave. And the three of us went up, and we spent a day at the vineyard, and we tasted the wines, and Dave taught us so much about what barrels and barrel aging is all about. And so we ended up, he wanted to know what we wanted to achieve and what he thought his wines could bring to the gin. So we ended up selecting some medium grain, medium toasted barrels. We learned all about, that these forests of oak trees, the side that's facing the sun has the tight grain, and the side that faces away from the sun has the open grain. And so depending on the openness of the grain, it determines how much the wine goes in and out of the wood, and that's the whole idea. So we've got this great situation with our barrels in a tin shed, a big tin shed, like a corrugated iron big shed next to the distillery. So you get the extremes of temperature.
Right.
You get cold nights and super hot days. What that's doing is opening and closing the grain of the inside the barrels. So the gin's going in and out, in and out, in and out. So it's like Simon was saying earlier, in the winter, it takes a lot longer to get the flavours happening in the gin. In summer, it's quite rapid because you've got these extremes of temperature. And sort of to close off that little bit, when we launched the gin, Dave came down. We did a degustation dinner, and we did a whole lot of matches of our gins, and we drank. Everybody had a shot of this ice cold, and a shot of the Syrah, half glass of the Syrah, and you could taste one and taste the other, and everybody in the room was going, "Oh my God, I can taste the wine. I can taste." And there was this complete and as a winemaker, Dave was just, he was completely blown away. He never expected what was going to happen, and we sort of had an idea, but it is that beautiful thing of distilling, which is what I take my hat off to these guys. Distilling is such a precise process. It's about temperature, and it's about volume, and it's about flow rates. And if you get any of it wrong, you can make a bad gin. And so then you take the gin that you make, that's a great gin, and you put it in a barrel, and you go, let's see what happens. And it's just like, it's such a random thing. You don't know what's going to happen. But I think we got great advice from a great winemaker, and we've got a gin that's got a bit of oak in it and a bit of wine in it, but it's still gin.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
It's definitely,
a plug for Dave there. Dave is incredible. He's done like 40 vintages. And
wow. Okay.
that's a lot of vintages.
Yeah.
The world constantly to do that. So his experience is second to none. And so for us, we felt incredibly fortunate to be able to meet these kind of people along the way. And it's the fun and the love that goes into the bottles.
Yeah. Wow.
So you can see Anne's there saying that she can smell the spice.
Yeah.
On them.
And I think if you have the Syrah, like you can, like we love it when the barrels arrive because it's just like, pop, out goes the cork and it's just beautiful. Like you get the Syrah is by itself spicy, and it's so lovely. Do you want to?
The guy who does the
guy that does the most work.
Is the quietest. That's why we're a team.
Yeah.
You all play
It's always the quiet ones, isn't it? Always the quiet ones.
You always play to your strengths. But no, I think, these guys touched on pretty much everything to the T of what we kind of wanted to achieve. Because when we first started distilling, we did the Ricky Rangi triple distilled. Pink gin was a massive thing. We did the rhubarb and raspberry on the back of a really successful launch of the triple distilled. And we did that differently again as well. We were kind of, the whole point with Imagination was that we were going to be different to what people perceived gin to be. And by doing that, we wanted to bring new people into the industry. So all of the, I like most gins, but the gins that I dislike the most are barrel-aged gins. And I hadn't had one that I actually liked. And it was mainly because it didn't taste like a gin. So it was just, I wanted the idea behind it was that when we started talking about it, I said, okay, but we have to do it differently to what's out there. We can't just do something that's stuck in a bourbon barrel and tastes like bourbon. It could be a nice alcoholic drink. But for me, I still wanted it to be back at about what Imagination ethos is all about. And for that, it's been the gin. So I think the best thing about this gin and how it turned out, which, yes, we were trying to do, but we never realised that we were going to do it that well, is to have that amazing balance from the white spice of the wine, the white spice of the wine, the nice soft oak finish, and the citrus forward gin. So I think it's such a complex gin. There's so much going on that it changes from when you drink it, like Gavin said earlier, when you drink it neat. You get a lot more of that caramel, real rich caramel oak coming through and the intense spice. But then when you add a soda water or a light tonic, or even we've been drinking it lately with ginger ale, you get a lot more of that gin coming through. The more it's watered down. So if you end up adding too much water,
you can give it the full run through of what's going through because I just love the smell on this one.
Yeah. So when you smell it, just on the nose, you smell it neat. There's so much rich white spice and oak coming through. Like you'd almost think if you did a blind tasting, you'd almost think that that's not really a gin at all.
It's almost like sweetness of almost like a cure.
And it's not till you actually taste it that you kind of think that you realise that it's actually the spices of the gin coming through. So that real cinnamony, the licorice that comes through on the triple distilled.
And Dave would throw, which I love. So we talk about Dave talks with the Syrah about white spice. So like the really kind of vanilla brioche cinnamon spices coming through, and that's kind of what pairs well with the with our classic dry. So yeah, I think the on the nose for this is probably my favourite gin.
So I've not put mine on ice because I have drunk it on ice before, loved it. So I wanted to experiment tonight and have it straight, but not on ice. So it's kind of like slightly warming as I'm holding it in my hand as well. And I'm really noticing that like sultana kind of nose is coming through a bit more, a lot more of that sort of caramelly coming through as well.
And that's even more pronounced when you have that opportunity. And I'd suggest that if anybody wants to really get it, do it. Go online and get a bottle of Black Barn Syrah and do them side by side, and you'll get that great thing,
it's
jumping
amazing.
between the two. It becomes so obvious.
Because I guess what's probably a bit of a key point there is that we're not we're talking about toasted oak, which is used for wine. If you were using bourbon or whiskey, you'd have more of a charred oak barrel, so it's been fried before. And that's where I guess what we wanted to stay away from here.
Yeah.
And so not only are we using a toasted oak, so it's only just very lightly toasted to really help seal the wood, but it's come straight from the winery with Syrah in it.
Mm.
It's it really is a combination of a whole lot of things.
And
Beautiful.
interestingly, we're sending the barrels back to Dave, having had gin made in them, and he's making Syrah in the barrels that the gin was made.
Oh,
He's
brilliant.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
You know? It's kind of like this amazing collision.
So Jill's saying that she had this one earlier in the week, obviously couldn't wait, and they demolished it. Her daughter and her absolutely loved it. So double love. Ain't lockdown great, she says.
I'll drink to that.
Depends what time of the day you had it, Jill.
Yeah.
It's really interesting at a lot of the festivals and things that we've been to, and indulgences and things like that, where you get these people where one of the couple is just a complete gin freak, and the other one is like wouldn't touch gin, wouldn't touch it with anything. The only people we can't convert are bourbon drinkers. We can't convert them to gin for some reason. This gin, you get people who go, no, I don't like gin. I'll never drink gin. I'm a whiskey drinker, and they drink this, and they are converted and go,
Yes,
try some gin.
absolutely.
There's a little bridge in there without going too far. It's so definitely a gin. That's what I really like about it. I get a bit hesitant about some gins that don't taste like gin anymore. They taste like something that's coming from somewhere else. It doesn't mean I don't like them, but it's a whole different gig for me.
Yeah.
I think that's why this one is just such an awesome gin, because of the complexity that it brings in of whether you can drink it neat very easily. It's nice and smooth on the palate with the triple distilled. Yeah. It's got that nice little hint of caramel coming through. But then I've just added a few drops of soda water, and it's already just opened up all those flavour particles, and you're getting a lot more of the citrus of the gin coming through, a little bit more piney, and a lot more of the white spice of the wine. So the caramel kind of fades away. So, and then the more you fill it up, or the more that you put tonic in it, the more it turns more into a gin. So, yeah, it's just very much an awesome complex gin that's very versatile in drinking.
Another one we love to spice things up with is is the dry ginger ale, which is because it's essentially the Fever-Tree one particularly is really dry. It's not sweet, and so it kind of again gingers out the spice, so it plays it really well. So.
And another one that I think works really well with this, I actually, my go-to is Antipodes, sparkling with this, and even a little spritz of lime juice on top.
Nice.
Really interesting is Strange Love Dirty Tonic. That, but it's cinchona bark tonic, and it really just adds another little spin on this.
So Cordula's asking, I get a very pleasant sweetness on the nose and the palate. Where does that come from?
So a lot of that is coming from the actual spices in the gin. So you get the sweet spices of the manuka, cinnamon, licorice, and orris root. And that's really prominent in the first part of this gin, which actually I think is the reason why it mixes so well, balances with the white spice and the oak caramel.
Yeah.
Another thing I'd just add to this, which is a bit of a curveball, is often when we're doing a tasting where we might have 6 or 8 gins up, is that it's really okay to not like a gin as well. And I think in the craft beer market now, the really cool thing about going to a craft beer brewery is trying all 10 and going, I love those 6. Those 2 are a bit different. I might have it again. Those 2 I enjoyed trying it, but I wouldn't have again. Sometimes this one can be polarizing because there is a lot of flavour in here. if you're used to your really classic dry, the level of flavour on top of this can kind of catch you out.
Yeah.
So I often kind of personify and go, and so this is the classic dry. If anyone hasn't tried this one, this is what goes into the barrel.
Yeah.
So this is our triple distilled, and I call that, like if you're having fancy friends over for a party, that's your go-to gin. And then when you've had a couple of gins, this is kind of solving the world's problems and deep intellectual conversations. Because like this is kind of cool and friendly and we can all get along. And this is like, I'm going to tell you who I vote for. Because there's like, you try these two together, which are essentially the same gin, but you really appreciate what the barrel does to it. And it's a game changer.
Yeah, it really is. And I think I'll just give you another wee plug on the on your classic dry gin, because that is a very, very delicious gin. For those of you who have not tried it, comes very high in the Syrah recommendation, I must say. It is a super smooth gin, super smooth. And I really
fortunate with that gin. Really fortunate. It was Chris and I were based in Nelson for 3 years, where Chris was actually making cheese for a creamery down there. He'd grown in the towel in a finance career over in the UK. Chris has got a big farming family in the Taranaki, so I thought he'd come back and make cheese. So he travelled Europe and learnt cheese making, and then it finally ended up in Nelson, which is where I was. So he was making cheese, which right in the middle of where we grow all the hops. So we would brew beer. If anyone's from Nelson, or if anyone has spent time in Nelson, everyone there brews beer. Like, you're not Nelsonian unless you brew beer. So to fit in, we were doing that. And I was based in the hospital at the time, and there was a really cool group of about 30 of us that would get together every week. And it became the thing that Chris and I bought a different beer to try. And what we really loved was, so Chris was pretty much trading hops for cheese straight off the back of the... I don't know who we said it to. So the really lovely thing with fresh hops is you get these awesome aromas, and that's what we wanted to try and bring to gin, and I think this one does that really well. Because
we've got one of our members here saying about how, I think, is this you, Jill, saying, actually got my husband to try this one as well. And yes, he is a whiskey drinker. He actually enjoyed it. So there is hope yet. We had a pre-dinner aperitif.
Not what they say about your husband. He's a nice guy.
Yeah. No, I've had many friends that are whiskey drinkers that will quite happily have a tipple of this, just neat. Just something different, change it up, and just different aromatics and flavors coming through. So I think the one thing, I don't know if we actually just briefly mentioned this, but the triple distilled, one thing about imagination is that we want to be a very transparent company on how we make our alcohol or our spirits. So our first one we released is we call it triple distilled, Ringarangi triple distilled, because we basically make a really clean vodka first. It goes through the still at least 3 times. So we make a really clean vodka first, and then we turn that into a gin. And that way we just have full control over the whole fermentation process and the distillation process. So that's why we can give it to a customer neat and know that, it's not going to burn their face off. It's going to be nice and smooth on the palate. And then from that, we then add our botanicals. And I think by doing that process, although it's a lot more labour intensive, a lot more inefficient, we can make a really nice product, and then we can grow that into like a black barn Syrah.
And just to show the commitment, Chris is an accountant, and he's happy for us to make our own alcohol, which costs us twice as much money as if we just bought it in. So we become less profitable by doing what we do, but we want to do it really well. And Simon's a dentist, by the way, as well. So here you go.
So what is your base? Cordial is asking that. So what do you use to make your vodka from? What's the base? Is it grain? Is it sugar?
There's very few of us actually in the game that will make a base spirit. And Chris and I came out of brewing beer. And when I say brewing beer, like this was in buckets on the stove kind of material. But fermenting is what we knew. So when we went into this game, we knew that that's all we
You
knew.
must have to do that.
That's it. So we set up the whole distillery with fermenters and Syrah. So more of the distillery is set up for fermenting. So we just use a sugar base. So we go from a raw sugar cane. Purely give us a clean, pure base. There's only really us and Cadrona. Cadrona obviously uses a malt, and that gives them a really distinctive flavour as well, which is cool. It's
Dunedin Dry now as well. They're doing their own.
It's really that's like making gin and using different botanicals is great fun, but fermentation is its own beast, and that's really cool one to play with as well. So
we do outsource our ones for our fruit gins because obviously it's a lot less reliant on I guess you say the more traditional style of gins on how we want people to drink it. More reliant on where we get the fruit and where it's harvested from. So yeah, we do outsource it because our equipment's we're still
we outsource the base spirit.
Yeah. But I think there's enough for me, and this is how I came to it. I've known Simon since he was 15 years old, and my background in marketing when these guys started this, they came to have a chat about branding and marketing, and I said, well, I'm keen to help you guys out, but I want to taste the gin first because if it's shit, I'm out of here. And I tasted it, and honestly, I was just captivated by it. And it was, I wasn't a big gin drinker. I was really into craft beer. I really like my wines. I really like my single malts, and I hadn't been a big gin drinker, and I am now. And I just fell in love with it. And part of it was, I found out afterwards, part of it was that pure spirit, that triple distillation that gives you this mouth. It's a mouthfeel that's different. You sit down now, I can't believe the gins that I had drunk, the Gordons and all the rest of it, and they had their place and they're all good. And it's like having a really cold Heineken after mowing the lawns. There's nothing wrong with the Gordons with Schweppes tonic and lots of ice. When you're hot and sweaty, the sun's shining. But I much prefer this, and it is about that next level, the purity of and the mouthfeel and you just know it's been really well made. And I go up to the distillery sometimes when that whole fermentation part's going on, and there's the temperature to manage and the time to manage, and it's kind of quite nervous and quite tense because it is critical to what ends up in the bottle.
Yeah.
You can flavor it forever. You can take some raw alcohol and you can flavor it like crazy, and it's a flavored alcohol. But if you can have that next level of finesse, it's kind of that's the cool bit.
We call that fun.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see that we've got some of our listeners blending now. So this one gives it away because we know it's Nikki, because she says it is divine with tonic. Very real, genuine G&T.
Yeah.
Well done, Nikki. What tonic are you using, Nikki? I always need to know that. Who else is mixing with tonic? Has anybody else mixed with ginger ale? We did put soda water in the box as well, so some people might have tried it with soda.
Gav mentioned Antipodes, which is our go-to soda.
Our
go-to tonic is the Fever Tree Light.
Yeah.
We're a big fan of the Fever Tree Light because it's the easiest way I say it is it's not too tonic-y. It does all the good things tonic does, but it doesn't overpower things. We go over the lime, bit of lime in there.
The tonic thing is really interesting because again, it's just about personal taste. It all is. It's all about you can't say there's something bad about lime red. Lime red is lime red, and there's a time and a place and all that kind of stuff. But I where I came from into this company and what it was doing was I saw the amount of work that went into refining and getting this thing to this stage. And then I watched someone pour, Schweppes tonic in it, the bright yellow one. And it's got the same amount of sugar as Coca-Cola, right? Within half a teaspoon in a whole bottle. And when I look at what went into making the gin taste like that, you want to kind of honour it in a way. And you wouldn't pour a fizzy water in it and then put a teaspoon and a half of sugar in and stir it. And that's essentially what's happening. So that fundamentally changes, and all tonics do, in their own way, change what's going on in the glass. A really interesting example is our wakame seaweed gin. If you drink it straight and then you put water in it, the water makes the wakame about 5 times as prominent. And it is a chemical thing that happens that I found there's a guy, a chef in Christchurch. He's got a fantastic little business he's starting up. He came back from working on super yachts and lodges and all around the world, Michelin star restaurants. And it's called Native Kitchen. And he kind of described the process to me of why that happened, because we couldn't kind of figure it out. You drink it neat, and it was definitely seaweedy, and then you put water in it, and it's kind of like just completely more seaweedy. And you go, well, I just diluted it. How did that happen? But
so I don't think he's with us tonight, but Marcel, who is what we refer to as our komatua in our gin space.
He is on tonight.
Kia ora, Marcel.
Oh, yes. Oh, kia ora, Marcel. Ki te pihia koe. So Marcel actually talked us through on one of our member meetups. He talked us through doing just a tasting with adding water to all of the gins that we were trying, because he said, like when they're tasting on a tasting panel for awards or anything like that, that's what they do. And he said it means that the gin now becomes really honest. Now, I'm probably saying the wrong words there, Marcel. Please type in the chat and let me know if I've said it wrong. But, there's nothing to hide when that happens.
There's that myth there that people think you only do it with whiskey, but all spirits, made with similar equipment, similar processes, similar chemical compounds, it's all ethanol. And there's definitely, even vodka, it just, it can open up different compounds to the palate. So I'd hugely recommend for anyone tasting any spirit, just a few drops of water with anything, it just changes it completely.
Connie's just saying there on the pop-up that she's having one there with the soda stream. Absolutely. That's how it goes. So we probably drink more soda now than we do tonic, because particularly, we still love trying all different gins, and like what you said, that keeps it honest. Really honest. And it's the bubbles do lovely things, and the water stretches it out a bit, and it's like if you can enjoy it with soda, you're doing something well. It's
so it's interesting, because one of the other comments that's been made is this idea that they're talking about why their bottle disappeared so quickly, and I think that was the Rekarangi. Classic Dry Girl. However, one of the things I love most about this group is being able to try a whole host of gins I probably would not have been brave enough to purchase before.
Definitely a brave gin to try too.
And to be fair, I mean, it's sort of somewhere between $70 to $100 a bottle. You probably do think
New Zealand
twice
gin.
before you buy something you haven't tried before that might be on an edge of where you think your palate might take you.
Weetabix for breakfast.
Anne's concurring. She's saying, totally agree, Jenny. So many new gins that I would have been too scared to buy a whole bottle of. So, and we were so delighted, can I just say, when I did talk to Nat and say, hey, Nat, do you reckon that you guys would want to get into the Father's Day box? Because, we can shuffle things around, so then we can get you into the Father's Day box. Because I was kind of like, so as everybody in this call knows, one of the reasons that we started Suggestion, and one of the reasons that I was into gin in the first place, is because my father was a massive gin drinker, and sadly he passed away in 2017. But this, when I first tasted this was one of the gins that I thought, I wish Dad was around to taste this, because he would have loved it, you know, like it was just one of those gins that I was just like, oh, what a shame. So I had Dad's and mine, and I'm sure he enjoyed it. Yeah.
And I guess this will be a plug for this group coming live in many regards of everyone having cameras, because having a gin by yourself is one thing, but being able to share it with others is, I think, the special thing. And that's what is probably the best part about the game that we're all in, is that the people that we meet and the people that we can share a gin with, because the stories that we get to hear and the journeys that we go on are just like so enjoyable. You can only love gin so much, but the people behind it are just worth every penny. So
Simon, I have to say that
gins.
Yeah, for the dad. Definitely.
It is one of the highlights. I know it is for memory, our members as well, but it's certainly for Syrah and I. The highlight of our week are these evenings, because we do get to talk to and hear the stories, and we have some extraordinary characters out there and some extraordinary stories, and some of them, like weeks later, I had a meeting earlier in the week with someone, and honestly, they made a comment and connected with someone said last week, and I started laughing, and he said, "When did I say something?" And I needed to explain it to them. It was to do with the role of ice in a gin.
Which he will never forget.
Yeah, but it's those stories that are just fantastic.
So,
characters.
Yeah. We're incredibly Black Barn as part of it. A big shout out to them, because all of their not only the kitchen but the tasting room there, they are the whole bunch of them have made our journey so much fun, and
brilliant.
It's a real privilege for us to be able to recognise them in a product that we're making. So if this ever makes it to anyone Black Barn, big kudos to what they're doing, because they all
Black Barn.
Yeah.
So I took your advice off a little post that I found on your social media stream, and that made its way into our tasting booklet this month, which was the Dirty Martini.
Yes.
So I have made a Dirty Martini. Cordula, this is for you. So Cordula in our group is a massive martini fan. She's our go-to martini expert. And I'm trying to live up to Cordula's standard, but I haven't yet got there. I'm taking lessons as I go. So I've just made up a Dirty Martini, and I had it actually sitting in the freezer up until going live tonight. So cheers, everyone. This is the Dirty Martini made with the Black Barn Syrah barrel aged.
That's awesome. Love it. And the other dirty martini I would recommend trying, which I've done all recently, is the wakame gin with the juice from fresh oysters. So
What?
And just a little bit of the oyster juice into the wakame, and you're in the ocean. It's crazy good.
So background on the wakame gin is we met. You could probably talk about better, but Lee, who is from a crayfishing family on the south coast of Wellington, over in Tora, the Tora Collective, worth looking up. Amazing family. The kids, who are not kids anymore, are essentially running the fishing side of the business, and Mum Lee is super passionate about changing the world with seaweed. And when I say that, is she's a big influencer behind the scenes of developing industry, working with government, NAF, and developing licensing on how we do seaweed and farming seaweed well. And it was actually through Gavin introduction to Lee, but it's like, well, she's the most beautiful soul of the earth woman out in her way that's collecting different types of seaweed and trying out different things. And it was after spending some time with her being like, we'll just make a seaweed gin just to support what you're doing. And so she dropped us up a whole lot of different seaweeds that she's been collecting. So she holds all the licenses for foraging it in the lower part of North Island. And it was awesome. So we made a batch, and it was so awesome. We now make heaps of it. And it was one for us that we were like, it was made in support for her, but it is it's such an awesome gin, and it just shows it's not weird, it's not seaweedy. It just shows that this wakame, which is a very culinary based seaweed, it just adds these most beautiful kind of flavors that we say umami flavors that it brings. It's, again, you try it against the dry, and you go to that, and you're like completely different gins, and it gives you a real shine of what seaweed does. It soon to be sea vegetable. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we've got to try that. I haven't tried it. Syrah, have you?
No, it's the only one of Imagination that I haven't tried yet. So
it's relatively new. So it's but yeah, we can't keep up with it now. It's incredible.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Bars and stuff are just loving it because again, it just adds this whole other layer of flavour, and it's really really interesting. Like Gav was saying, you're getting the fun thing about making these drinks, right? Making a martini. If you're going to make a dirty martini, why not throw in oyster juice and make a gin that's made with seaweed? Right?
Yeah. The other thing I did with it, which I haven't actually, these guys haven't tasted yet, but we must get around to it, is I went out and got, we live at the beach here on the Kapiti coast, and I went out, swam out and filled a plastic bottle with seawater and just let it all settle so the sand and whatever went. And I made a just wakame gin, ice, a little bit of water, and then like half a teaspoon of seawater. And oh my god, it is the craziest thing. It is actually inexplicable. I cannot describe it, and you don't know. Maggie, my wife, who's in the next room, we both drank it and we both talked about it several times, and it's like you cannot describe what is going on. It is something like you have never tasted before. Doesn't taste like seawater.
How extraordinary.
It's just this crazy thing.
We'll have to wrap this up so we can go to Gav's house.
did you still got some of that seawater?
Yeah, you can. That's another. Is that now on your site as available as another product?
Oh, we might do that.
Gav's seawater. Forage.
Yeah. Gav's seawater mixer. Okay, so Cordiala's asking, did you skip the vermouth this time? I'm not too sure whether she's referring to my dirty martini, which I did not. I did put a touch of vermouth in. But Gav, what about yours with the oyster? Did you put vermouth in?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't put it.
Nope. Pure as it came, right?
Just the wakame gin and the oyster juice. Yeah.
Ooh,
And a touch of seawater.
Yeah.
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 I guess
Okay,
the thing about our game, right, is that it's trying new things, sharing it with people, like crazy, not crazy, like it, don't like it, try it.
Yeah.
Love it or hate it, like it's a journey, man. Just get into it. And it's, we're really fortunate with what you guys are doing with suggestion. Like it's really cool that we can try all these different things. Like obviously the boxes turn up beautifully every month. Like huge kudos to what you're doing. Like how fun is that?
Yeah, that's right.
If you haven't bought one of those for one of your mates, like what's going on? Get your mates. Yeah.
We do get the comments a lot from our there's a bit of a cult and a movement starting to happen about the unboxing. We hear our members talking about how the whole family gathers around while they unbox their box of gin, how it's like Christmas, and it's super exciting, especially when they get to see, like the gins. And we were so super proud of the Father's Day lineup that we had this month. And, literally we got you guys in at the very last kind of second. And I had everything crossed that you were going to say yes and that we could shuffle everything around, because I was just like, this is going to be so perfect for the Father's Day box. So, yeah.
And I guess from our end, we probably appreciate from a small amount how much effort goes in from your guys' end into essentially putting together a beautiful package. But not only from us, but from all the other distillers that are putting products in there, there's a huge amount of love and work and hours and time and thought and tasting and discussions with different people making different ingredients that go into that arriving at the front door. So it's we do it all for that point of everyone being like, it's the suggestion box, you know, like
Yeah.
it's
Well,
really
actually,
because
it's
that's what we enjoy.
and it's for the evenings like tonight, right? Where you can get together and we can hear from you guys who literally made the drop that we're drinking, you know, and we get to hear how it was made, what was the thinking behind it, you know, and likewise you get to hear how people are enjoying it, which tonight sounds like they have all really enjoyed it. So please, everybody, let Chris and Simon and Gav know exactly.
I guess, you know, like not only that is that this goes on to, this extends beyond us, but also the Black Barn and the awesome work that they do in the vineyard there.
Absolutely.
The Black Barn will change because the different wines that are made, you know, the 2013 is different to the 2014, which is different to the 2015.
Yeah.
So the batches are the same as the wine that changes through that, and I guess, you know, there's an element of Syrah that comes with that, but that's why we love this one, because we never know what's coming out of the barrel. The different barrels of wine, the different wines that have been in them, and it's just it's a juggling game for us with this one, and it's a really cool bunch of barrels to juggle, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, love the range of gins that you've got, but I have to ask Chris, given his background and his training in cheese, tell me there's a cheese related gin in the pipeline somewhere.
Yeah, we like to push the boundaries of the gin industry and distilling in general. That's kind of part of our ethos. But we also, as I've probably mentioned, we like to keep a gin. I don't think we'll go down that freaky route of doing weird wacky things that some people.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just kudos to everyone else, but we let them play with their toys and we'll focus. I want to be able to drink it. You know, like I think there's only, you know, all gins that we make. You know, there might be an element of bias in there, but there are gins that we make that sell probably some of our best sellers that I don't actually very much like personally. But you know, my ethos is that I just still want to at some point go home and be able to enjoy it and drink it. And if somebody just tells me a Cheesley gin or gin or maybe a Stilton gin.
I'm not the accountant, but I know how much our filters cost. And getting that out of there, $800 a filter, and I don't think that's going to last very long with one cheese play going through there. So thanks for your advice.
Yeah, but what would the appetite be of doing some sort of gin tasting, cheese tasting?
Yeah. Gin match.
Absolutely spot on. Yeah, so I think that's a great idea, because there are a couple of things that our members are really keen on, and there's often a lot of conversation on. One is a gin tour, where people are wanting to come around and visit different distilleries and meet you guys and sit down in corridor, literally around a table with a couple of gins.
I think there's definitely a big market for all those sort of little things. You know, I've seen it with friends of ours that had distilleries that work really well for them. I think all of that, you know, it's how long's a piece of string, and what you guys are doing. Obviously, you know, online gin tasting, I think there's a massive appetite for that, getting a bit more of the e-commerce side of things. And I just kind of thought of the gin and cheese tasting then. So
Let's explore that, I reckon.
Yeah, we'll definitely be there. So in the early days of Suggestion, when we were like doing all of our design of our boxes and everything like that, we were very lucky because my oldest daughter is a chef, and she would make us these tasting platters to have with our gin tastings. And so in there, she would make these most beautiful baked cheeses with all these amazing, like, caramelized onion toppings on them and all sorts of stuff. So we were very spoiled. So we know that cheese goes really well with gin.
Totally.
We used to have Chris and I and a couple of others were living together for a wee while, and every Friday night we'd have gin and cheese night. So we have Carpi breads, which should be in your local supermarkets. Amazing. They do a balsamic onion one. Same thing. It's half cooked, so you buy it, throw it in the oven for 20 minutes. was amazing. So you get this hot bread, cheese on it, and it was also because Chris has got this amazing knowledge through traveling Europe about your Stilton, your whatever's of where they come from and why they're that colour from what the cows ate there, and
fantastic. All right, well, we can see some future sessions going on here. We need to arrange that and find ways to make that happen for everyone. I'm aware, though, that we're at 8:27, folks.
It's nice to get them around to do cheese tastings and things at their place, but you know.
No, I think it's one of those, getting a bit off topic, but it's one of those forgotten sort of industries in New Zealand where we can make cheap milk and affordably and very good milk, but I think the whole cheese history we just haven't got, and I think we're developing it and it's getting better and better and people are more open to it, but I think it's one of those things where just like gin was 4, 5, 6 years ago, it's going to be an educational thing ongoing, which is all part of the fun, right?
And the weird thing for anyone who's interested, and for me coming in as an outsider and having been involved in other kind of food related things, the compliance costs for making cheese, the health and safety and the food safety and all of that, compared to the compliance costs of making alcohol, are like so far apart. It is to make money out of making cheese in New Zealand is almost impossible.
Yeah.
To make money out of making alcohol,
and then
not so much.
And then my doctor gives me arseholes because I drink too much. I like to be a cheesemaker my whole life.
Folks, we could go on forever, I think, here, but I am aware that it's 8:28, and so we really are. We're needing to sort of bring it to a close because people have lives to go back to. Other
we have nowhere else to go.
I was going to say those are the people that are outside of Auckland. They've got lives to carry on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Or second bottles to get, apparently.
Cordial is off to find his second bottle. Yeah.
Sometimes, just on that, sometimes the black barn is hard to get because we're restricted by our barrel supply, and the barrel supply is conditional to what the winemaking seasons are like. So sometimes it is a little bit hit and miss on the website. Our push is always to your local bottle stores first because we want to support those that support us. And of course, if anyone is in the Havelock North or Hawke's Bay region, 100% go into Black Barn because it's an experience, and just drive up and you can just drive around and it's beautiful. So.
And buy more of the Syrah because then we'll get more of their barrels.
Yeah.
A good symbiotic relationship. Yeah. So
just so then people are aware, we have got some stock left of the Black Barn Syrah barrel aged.
Right.
We've got a couple of bottles of the Wakame as well. I know is still sitting on the shelf. So I might beat you to that one actually. But just saying. But yeah, there is definitely stock, and of course we will be replenishing our stocks because lockdown seems to have hit stocks pretty hard this year.
Yeah, we'll put aside the sticky stash for you, but yeah, definitely. Suggestion, awesome work.
Yeah,
bringing us all together and being able to share this as a group is what it's all about.
Brilliant.
Thank you, guys. Honestly, you are the reason why we love doing the work we do. It's for precisely this. It's an opportunity to hear great stories, to talk, enjoy fantastic gins.
Yeah.
And one of the other things that has come up many times before and has come up again tonight is how the community of distillers and gin distillers generally, but certainly the gin distillers, is so collaborative and supportive of each other. And often we'll get people saying, really great relationships here, and we get support there, etc. It's what we're finding in our community as well. So it's fabulous being part of it. We think you guys make a range of superb gins. We've really, really, really proud to have had both or two of your gins so far in our box. They've been a real highlight. People have loved them. We love them because they're great gins.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for being here tonight, for being part of the program, for being, I guess, an important part of the suggestion journey as well. And yep, folks, as always, don't forget, if your bottle is run dry, there's your QR code in the back. Just take your camera picture, and we'll have a bottle off tomorrow. And if it's the wakame you're wanting, we'll just specify that separately. That's all on the website anyway.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Any
Guys.
last comments? Thank you, folks. It's been
Thanks.
brilliant.
Awesome.
Cheers.
And sorry, one last moment just before you turn off. Monday night is our next gin tasting. It's coming around quite quickly, but that's just in times with the new box. So the new boxes are currently with the couriers, or some have got them already. I can't tell you who's in that box at the moment because the surprise is still there.
It's a surprise.
But I can tell you though that the distiller that's doing the live tasting on Monday night is South Island, so mainlander, and it is one of Syrah's favorite gins, I have to say. Probably with the Rikurangi, I think.
There we go. Good comeback. Good comeback. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the Rikurangi and the barn, because the Syrah Black Barn.
Oh, I thought we might have got a hint with it to the next box, but we'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah, brilliant. Guys, thanks once again, though. Good night, folks. We'll see you on Monday.
Thanks so much.
Yes.
Poor Marty.
Well,